Rosemary is an evergreen herb, a perennial from the Mediterranean. Its Latin name is Rose marinus, which translates to dew of the sea. In the creation myth of the Greek goddess Aphrodite, she arose from the sea adorned in rosemary. Being the goddess of love, this led to the belief that rosemary could be used as a love charm. Now the ancients would burn rosemary as an incense, but I've found that the oils become bitter when it's burned, so it's actually better as a potpourri. You can use it as a living potpourri and just agitate it to release the oils, or you can dry it and stir it up when you want that smell. It's absolutely fantastic. In the Middle Ages, brides would wear a laurel of rosemary, and in ancient times, students would use laurels of rosemary to stimulate their mind. And its scent is invigorating and has strong ties to memory, which led it to being used in funeral ceremonies, wedding ceremonies, important events that you really wanted to remember. Scent really has that strong, memorable bond in your mind. Some of my favorite uses for rosemary include dishes like this. This is a simple potato dish, and I've sauteed diced potatoes, added onions, garlic, peppers, a little salt and pepper, and of course plenty of rosemary. This is excellent for breakfast, but it's savory enough to also use for lunch or dinner. Now I have here some tea that we've made. This one is with fresh rosemary, and it really has that vibrant rosemary smell and taste. It's very tasty. You can sweeten it with honey if you like, add a splash of lemon juice, and it's a nice invigorating tea. And I've made one here with dried rosemary, and it actually, to my surprise, smells like green tea. It's amazing, and it tastes like tea. Something involving the drying process. Really, it mimics the drying process of tea leaves, and it has that same effect. Wow, it really does taste like green tea. It's beautiful. Now to grow rosemary, you can start it from seed, but it's going to take a really long time. It needs lots of heat, lots of sunlight, so it's best to start them really, really early in the spring or summer so that you can get that warmth. It really needs the warmth. My favorite way to propagate it is by taking cuttings. You want a 5 or 6 inch length like this. And what we'll do is pull up on the leaves, and you want to save these. These are great for cooking, or you can set them out on a paper towel to dry. Now if you go down, if you pull down on these leaves, you could actually strip some of the bark. You may not be able to see that, but it's taken some of the bark with it. So we want to pull up on these leaves for the bottom few inches till you're left with something like this. So this can go straight into some water, and they're rather hardy. In a month, or less, sometimes a few weeks later, you'll have some roots. So once it forms roots, then it's ready to plant in the soil. I've had great success with that method of taking cuttings, and I always save my leftovers for cooking. You can use it fresh within a few days, or you can dry it out. I dry mine in the basement because it only takes a few days down there for it to dry. So rosemary is great on breads, all sorts of meats, and you can take a strong branch like this. Let's take this one actually, and you can use it as a basting tool. You just dip in your sauce and you can brush it onto your meats, your breads, and it'll impart that flavor right onto the food. So that's a great way to use rosemary. Another one of my favorites is mixing it with other herbs to form a blend. This is an Italian blend, so it has oregano, marjoram, basil, thyme, and of course plenty of rosemary. Now the ratio doesn't matter too much. If you don't like a certain herb, you can certainly leave that out. But this is amazing on all sorts of Greek and Italian foods. Now there's plenty of legends about rosemary. If you put a sprig under your pillow, it's said to ward off nightmares. If you plant some outside your home, it'll keep witches at bay. In the Middle Ages, we mentioned before, brides would wear laurels, like a crown on their head. And at the end of the wedding ceremony, they would plant a sprig in the ground. And if that sprig grew to a full plant, their marriage would be prosperous. It was also used in funeral ceremonies because of its tie to memory. You really want to remember those moments, and the scent helps those moments stay in your mind. In Shakespeare's Hamlet, Ophelia quotes, "There's rosemary, that's for remembrance." So it was well known that rosemary had a tie to memory, and it may yet prove to have some use in fighting Alzheimer's. So a cup of tea will invigorate the mind and stimulate your memory. One of my favorite references is to the Virgin Mary. It was said that she laid down to rest underneath a rosemary plant that was in beautiful white flowering. So she rests her cloak, her blue cloak, over the flowers, and they turned blue. And it was known from then on as the Rose of Mary, or rosemary. It has antiseptic properties and was often used in Victorian times to sterilize water along with other herbs. And this tea has anti-inflammatory effects. So I really hope that you can give rosemary a go, and that this video has given you some ideas on how to use it. Thank you for watching.